Biceps. But before we proceed to that, I would like to give us a quick introduction of the presenters today. So I'm Chidebere Ugu, a senior DevOps engineer and Azure infrastructure automation engineer as well, with about 8 years experience in the industry. And with me here today is a senior colleague of mine that I've worked with over the years for close to 6 to 7 years, which is no other person than Ihana Chochukwu, a senior infrastructure and DevOps engineer with extensive experience in infrastructure automation and application deployment. So, Nacho, please, do you have a minute to say hi to the audience?
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Chidi, for that introduction. Well, we are here to learn and share experience, and we'll start. I wish us all the best in the learning.
Thank you. That's awesome. So, without wasting much time, we'll go straight to the topic of today, which is a migration from R template to Azure Biceps. In our previous sessions, we have had different sessions on infrastructure as a code, introducing Bicep, Azure Terraform, and RM templates. But just in a nutshell, an overview of infrastructure as a code, which is a method to codify your infrastructure deployment to have a central location where you can modify, uh, automate the environment or the infrastructures you are deploying to your environment instead of using a GUI or just a click ops. So we have series of videos on that already, but for today we'll concentrate mainly on converting Azure Resource Manager template to RM template. So with this, we'll move forward to the read day for today. So in our table of content, we have just a brief introduction of infrastructure as a code and Bicep, and then we'll explore more on the limitations of ARM templates, which prompts the idea of migrating ARM templates to Bicep. And then we have benefits of migrating to Bicep, and then we'll now will give a walkthrough or a demo session on how you can convert RM template to Bicep. So first, introduction to Bicep. I'll first start with a ARM template, which is a Azure Resource Manager template used to define your resources instead of just deploying your infrastructures via Azure DevOps graphic user interface. Initially, you use a Azure Resource Manager template, which is a JSON file used to define those resources that you want to deploy. But recently, there is a more modified and simplified version of it, which is Azure Bicep, which is a kind of a domain-specific language that simplifies the ARM templates and makes it to be easily manageable and reusable. So you can convert your RM template to Bicep to make it reusable and then to be easily maintainable by DevOps engineers in case in a situation whereby you have a series of resources being deployed. So with that being said, so Bicep is a kind of a declarative language for deploying resources, or as I mentioned, a domain-specific language for deploying your resources, and it simplifies the ARM template. So I'm making it easily maintainable and reusable for subsequent deployment. And the core features of this, we have a human readable syntax. Unlike the JSON format, this is more simplified. And then we have a modularity and reuse with modules. So instead of using a JSON format, which normally is being outputted in this scenario, like when you run a plan, if you are using Terraform, for instance, or so. So this helps you to modularize your deployment, and then you can also validate your script. Each of the resources, you can run commands to validate them to confirm that they are in line with best practices before the actual deployment takes place. So we have limitations of ARM template that is the main reason that we're going on this session of migrating from ARM templates, which is a bit going into obsolete, to Bicep template. So what we do is in this limitation, you have a complex and verbose JSON syntax. So if you are using ARM templates, or we have used that before in deployment, oh yes, the script to deploy a single resource using ARM templates is more complex and confusing a bit. But Bicep has simplified that to more human readable form and more manageable form. And then you'll be able to just manage a single code block and a particular resource as you're deploying. And then you can modularize that based on individual resources that you want to deploy. So the second limitation is difficult to debug and troubleshoot. Just similar to the first point, that makes simplifies the complexity of ARM templates, making it more simple. So having individual modules or individual resources declared separately in a module form makes it simple to troubleshoot in case you have multiple resources in your environment. Let's say in a complex environment where we have up to thousands of resources being deployed, and then if they are not in modules, to be able to troubleshoot a single error coming from a particular resource makes it a very tedious issue. So which this Bicep makes it more simpler, because with the modules you'll be able to track each error based on the particular module that triggers that resources, and you can go straight to there and then make your modifications. So the third is a limited modularity and readability, just similar to the second one. So with the modularization aspect of this, you can reuse your codes. You can use it to deploy to multiple Azure subscriptions at the same, or different environment at the same time. The only difference is just to specify the target environment that you want to deploy, and the same configuration of the resource will be deployed to that environment. And then the fourth one is lack of tooling for advanced validation. So with ARM template, there are some limitations in terms of implementing some third-party tools like linting to validate your script before deployment, which with Bicep template is more simple to add some third-party tools that will help you in validating your script before deployment. And then the learning curve for this, which makes it more like an open for you to integrate third-party tools, or the flexibility to customize your script the way you want it, and then your resources to suit your desired compliance. So we have benefits of migrating to Bicep. Once is improve readability. So as earlier said, it simplifies the syntax for easier understanding. With the modules, you will be able to understand, okay, with this particular module, these are the requirements, or these are the parameters that this resource requires to be able to deploy this. And then if you are having issue in each particular step, you'll be able to just pinpoint that and then troubleshoot that from there. So enhance productivity. So this helps in fast development with fewer lines of code. So with this, you don't have to write a complex JSON script or the rest. Rather, you just have a simple module to deploy a particular resource, and few parameters that are required, others that will be automated. And then you have the flexibility of modifying or changing that as it suits your environment, or scale up or scale down depending on what you want. So you can reuse the components across different deployments, across different environments, or different Azure subscriptions, as the case may be. So you can integrate with Azure DevOps CI/CD pipeline, or even different other CI/CD pipeline tools. And then you have a continuous update to alignment with Azure Resource Manager. All right, so it gives you the flexibility to integrate some other tools, and then there are rooms for improvement and different updates that comes into it, instead of just like a static JSON format that this is what it is, and then no much modification that can be done on that. So at this stage, I will introduce my colleague. I will allow Nacho to go on a hands-on demo. We have talked extensively on different videos on infrastructure as a code, Bicep, Terraform, Azure Resource Manager template. So with this, we'll go straight to a demo session on how to convert to Azure Resource Manager template to Bicep, and then do a simple deployment, and then let's see how it works. So Nacho, are you there?
Yes, thank you very much for that overview. You really took us through the journey of ARM templates and where we need Bicep. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to continue to convert an existing ARM template that is actually used to deploy a simple storage account and move that to Bicep. So
Okay,
I'll be sharing my screen.
please do.
So we have this storage account, which I just named the Bicep series storage account, and it has like a container inside of here. So what I really want to do is just for us to look at the ARM template that was used to deploy this, because we have deployed this with ARM templates, and hopefully we should be able to convert that to Bicep. So looking at the ARM template, we'll see it's like Chidi explained, it's a JSON kind of stuff. It's a JSON declarative tooling, and we'll see that our template has been declared in JSONs. This is a very simple hello world code, so it might not really showcase how tedious or how complicated it could really become. But what we'll do is we'll pay attention to how we're going to be converting this from one form to another. And I'll quickly like to take us through like a graph that kind of shows us what to be done. So we have this simple overview to what we'll be doing. So basically, we have our JSON template file, which we'll try to convert to Bicep. Then we'll make a couple of changes. Then we are able to migrate from JSON to Bicep template. So we'll just follow this kind of format and guide us through how to really do that. So first of all, Azure has actually made these things a little bit easy by introducing Bicep commands that could actually decompile the JSON templates to Bicep. So this might not be all we need, but to give us a starting point to be able to, continue with what we need to do to make our code clean, fine, and very deployable. So that's for that, we need to ensure that we have installed the Bicep module. So I'll come to this shell and I'll try to use AZ Bicep install. Okay, this will help us to make sure that we have the Bicep installed. I already actually installed that before, so I don't expect that to do much things. Then we'll do AZ Bicep decompile. So we have the ARM template, which is the major declarative tool where we have these resources deployed, and we also have the parameter file for what we have here. So to decompile this JSON, we'll use AZ Bicep decompile and the name of the file, okay, which will be main.json. So we'll expect this to help us decompile the template based on the best way it could, but you see it always gives you like a kind of warning saying this is not 100% kind of proved. So it's just based on trying to help you have like a sample to start with. But from here, we have not really had any much errors to really look at. So let's look at what we have as the converted Bicep templates. So we see that we are now having a more declarable resource, a cleaner syntax. If you are very familiar with Terraform, it kind of very close to Terraform, kind of. So so we now have the resource coming in, and we have the symbolic name, which is storage account. Then we are seeing the provider, and we are seeing the API version and other parts of the storage account. And also we are also seeing that we have like the container now represented in Biceps. Okay, so we compare it to this, we have a starting point to work from. So basically have these two resources here as Bicep templates as well. So what we'll do, we'll look at it and start doing like a first cleanup, at least to make sure that we're able to deploy this. That will be our focus. So yeah, I don't like much of this naming. So one of the things that you can do is, you try to update and try to make the code really cleaner, right? So I want to call this container instead of having default then container. So this is fine for me. But whatever you change here, you must check that there's no reference that is referencing that part. If it is, you also need to update the same stuff. So this looks fine. So in attempt to try to, work on this really, the first attempt should be to try to deploy with the new code. Okay. So how can we do that? Let me clear the screen. Being that this, we can use AZ deployment group validate name of the template. This time around, we'll point to main.bicep, and we want to point to the parameter file as well, which is the same parameter file, as this just decompiles and tries not to change much stuff here. But if we were curious about it, we can check again. What do we have? We have storage name, we have location, we have container name. So if we'll check with the previous JSON file, it's the same parameters that we have defined, and doesn't introduce any new parameters to update parameter file. So if I do this, I'll likely see what might become of this template. So I'm using the validation command, and I'm running the code to see what will be the outcome. Looks like I may have made a mistake there. Yes, I did not include the resource group where we are where we are scoping our deployment to. So let's add that resource group. What's the name of the resource group? See here? No, yeah, it's actually. Let me check the portal to see the name of the resource group. So resource group is Bicep Learning Series. So we're gonna add that. Hopefully it can tell us this code is fine. Okay, so we could just quickly go through it and ensure that actually gives us what we want. This code looks fine for me. Looks fine to me, rather. And yeah, it has actually passed validation. Then this is like just the first step. We can actually make it better. We can improve the readability. We can improve the syntax and some other stuff. Okay, so I'll look at it again. And this time around, I know it has deployed, but I'll be looking at, is there anything I can make better in my code, right? So when I look at this, it's actually defining a parent to child relationship, and is using this resource naming kind of style. This is not really what we should be using. Let's quickly find out a better approach. So we have the child parent to child relationship, and from what I see here, we are using the full resource name outside parents. That's the default that the compile command has given to us. Yes, we can see that there's a little bit of warning here that says it's not it is not as type safe as using one of the other approaches. So it's not really recommended, basically. So we want to try to improve what we have. So that's the point of refactoring the code. The first step is trying to convert. The next step is trying to see if it's deployable, and we'll get to the point that we're trying to refactor our code. So with refactoring the code, this is like a typical resource that we're working on. We have a storage account, and we have like, let me just copy this over. We have like a file share service, and what we need for a container blob should be blob service. Okay, let me just confirm that, but I believe it's blob service. That should be blob. So I could just copy this and really put this at the right-hand side of my code and determine the things I want to change. So I want to have like a parent to child relationship by defining the block outside of the parent in a much more simpler way as recommended here. This is the method I'm trying to mimic here, not this one that we actually have previously. You can see that there. So I'll look at this code, then this will be the parent, this will be the child. So we need to define an intermediate resource. In our own case, should be blob service, but I'll check that if that's absolutely correct. So that should be blob here, blob service, and the name of our parent should be resource storage account, being the container is inside the storage account. Okay, so that's fine. If we look at this as well, just before I start modifying so many things, okay, let me just explain the previous resource. So what we have here is a child relationship that is being defined with the resource name, and we can see that this is actually saying this is a parent and this is a child. Okay, and to make sure that the parent exists, it's also using a depends on flag. So we're going to convert this to a more favorable code. Okay, so let me just copy this over because this is exactly what we are trying to achieve, although not the file services, but the blob service, since a container is a blob service. So I've just copied that over, and let's look at what we have actually from this search of ours. Okay, this should be. It should be blob service, and this should show a container. I'm gonna confirm that once that comes up. So we'll look at this again. The parent would now be like from here, it would be the storage account. Still the same storage account, which is the first resource itself. So, have storage account. No, this should be container blob. Let's call this blob services. It's appropriate. Blob service, yeah. And I'll just call this. This will be the parent of this one. So let's call this. Let's just call this container. So this is clearer. So was the name? This will now be the name, which we might want to just stick to what we have here as container name, which of course a parameter, right? So let's stick to this. Take out this. So let's quickly check what our search has gotten onto. So what's going on? That's Google. Oh my God. I'm not a fan of being. Yeah, so that seems to be correct. Blob services containers. So that's what we're looking for. Okay. So yeah, just go back here and continue. So now I can close this now. I don't need this anymore. So it looked like we're having a better code. Nothing has changed much here. So at each stage, I just like confirming that that same resource is deployable still. Okay. So validate again and see if anything has changed. Hello, are you guys still there?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so that seems to be fine. Okay. So when I look at this again, I still want to make a little bit of change. So what else can we add to this Bicep template as an improvement since we are refactoring our code? So when I look at this, it seems to not have a tag, right? Maybe we can as well add a tag. What do you think? Add a tag to make the code better. So basically, you just keep refactoring to the standard in your organization, basically. So say tags. Let's define a new parameter. Tags. Let's have it as an object. Okay, and you can decide to define a default value, basically. Let me copy this over and just save myself from typing so much. This will be the name of the tag. Tags to apply to the resources. So we are still refactoring our code. So I'll just take this and kind of paste here. This should be fine to paste here. No, it doesn't need, once it's on the storage account, it should be fine, really. That should be fine, since it's the same resource, right? So yeah, that should be fine. So if you doubt yourself, you can always validate and try to do a what if actually to see if everything still works fine for you. Yep. So I believe you're getting a better codes. Look at the API versions as well. If we have Bicep links, if you are linking this might tell us that the API version is too old, kind of, right? So I'll look at it and I want to like just up it a bit. Okay, part of refactoring. But what we have there is 2023. What's the latest really? Let's see. What's the latest? Try to take it to the latest. Yeah, seems that's the latest. 2023. Let me look, confirm. May 2023. Okay. That's not the same thing. So yeah, I'm gonna use this one. So we'll keep it uniform as well. Okay, I think this is a better code. The best part is this: try to define the default parameter values where possible. So should we just define something for the location? Say use look resource group. Let's pick it from the resource group of deployment. Let's pick the location parameter. I think this is much more better than just leaving it as a string, really, without any default value. So I can always validate. This looks much like it. Okay, so it seems like we have converted from ARM template to Bicep, but in the real world, we might want to modularize our code, or kind of keep it in a way that we can kind of manage this in modules. Well, what that means is, we can try to create a module form of this. Say this could be maybe a storage account module or a template, basically. So it helps easy management and things like that. And ideally, we might have different environments. So maybe it's more appropriate to have something like a parameter, an environment, different environments, right? Probably you have dev, UAT, production, things like that. So you might want to have, it's not mandatory, but you might want to have like a parameter folder where you have different environments inside. You can call it environment, you can call it parameters, whatever suits you. And ideally, you might want to have something like, say, development parameters dot bicep param. Now this has brought me to another topic I need to introduce, just another concept. So we have a parameter file already as a JSON file in ARM template, which is also very compatible with Bicep file, right? But to really come to a point where we are successfully modernizing Azure infrastructure as a code, we want to use Bicep file, basically, which is the modern parameter file, Bicep param, sorry, which is the modern Bicep parameter file. So it also eliminates JSON, which is really what we are trying to avoid. And for that, we can really do something very simple. I mean, we could just right-click these and say decompile to bicep params. That would do the trick for us. Yep, let's see how it looks like. So if you want to compare this again, you can see there's a whole lot of improvements, right? Okay, so this is kind of an ideal way of making things better. So we could want to move this into module folder, or then refer to that module for our deployment. But we'll come to that. So with this new parameter JSON parameter file, we need to just try to use that with our template and see how it works really. So we can now define our main file, main.bicep file inside of here, so it is able to make use of the main.bicep template. Okay, so if we want to quickly see if that's right, we might need to just trick this. We need to trick this to say .param file. Yes, we are now pointing the parameter file to this new parameter file. Yeah.
All right.
So
Yeah, just a quick. Okay, sorry.
yeah, please ask your question. What's that?
Okay, so just a quick one. I want to know for this bicep. I've not really used bicep on a scale like this. So, but I want to know for bicep, is it that it has this file extension of bicep param? That's for the parameter. Is that the way it actually the naming the file naming convention? Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Sorry, I will try to repeat your question. Then you can tell me if my understanding is correct.
Okay.
So my understanding is you're asking if it is mandatory to have parameter.bicep param as name of the file. Is that the question?
Not really. So the question is, I noticed that when we were dealing with ARM template, that's the file extension was .json, but
Yes.
now in the case of Bicep, the file extension is Bicep param. So I want to know if this the standard file extension naming file extension for parameters when dealing
Okay.
with biceps, yeah, or it's
Yes.
just
Yes.
okay.
For parameters, that's the standard. Because
Okay.
the idea of all the bicep stuff is to avoid JSON, right? And
Okay.
if you look at the template is JSON, the parameter is also in JSON, right? So
Okay.
previously, there wasn't a bicep param file, okay?
Okay.
But bicep
Okay.
has gotten to a point that it's being worked on every day. So now we have modernization and things are actually getting better, kind of. So it
Okay.
was just .json before, but now it's now .bicep param. But it's still, like we've seen here, it's still compatible with .json as a parameter file.
All right.
But
So
I mean,
thank you for that.
I won't have, yeah, continue.
Okay. All right. Sorry for interrupting you. So I also just want to understand when we talk about this parameter, is it the same like variables that we have in Terraform? Yeah. Is it like a way to declare variables just like the way we do in Terraform? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes and no. Yes
Okay.
and no. Yes, because um, Terraform variables is very close to parameter, but it's not the same thing. Okay, and
Okay.
this is the reason why. we're in Bicep now, but I don't digress. But in Terraform, we kind of simply don't have parameters, right? We have
Yeah.
variables. So variables does the job of both parameters and variables. But in Bicep, you have a concept of variable differentiated from parameters. Now, parameters is more of like temporizing your code, allowing it to have default values and values you can override, right? But for which is the same thing with Terraform variables, right? But Bicep also has its own variable, which you can override. So
Okay.
that simply helps you to kind of, basically the way I want you to just see this, it's Terraform variables is very close to Bicep parameters, but it's not entirely the same thing,
Not
because
different. Okay.
in Terraform variables you can do all you can do with Bicep parameter, but there's still another kind of concept called variables in Bicep. But the only
Wow.
difference is that
Interesting.
at runtime, okay, you can't change a variable value, but at runtime you can change a parameter value, which may mix Terraform variables, right?
Okay.
So we can say it's the same thing, but I don't want you to forget that there's a concept called parameter variables.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. So sorry, I'm cutting you short. I
No,
really
it's fine.
apologize.
It's fine. It's
All right.
fine. It's
So
fine.
I'm just interested with this bicep because the truth is that I've kind of come across it, but I've just been lazy to learn and also do some little deployment with it. So, but since we are discussing on this, I think that will also kind of spur my interest in going back to learn further on this. Okay. So, but
Yeah.
I also want to clarify. So for this bicep, I understand that we can also do a sort of validate to confirm that the what we really want to do, just like the way we have plan and the rest in Terraform, that the values that we are seeing really want to do before we then go ahead to deploy. Okay, so but
Yeah.
I want to understand if it has a way. Let's assume there are teams that are working together. I'm just trying in my head trying to because I know in a way, since it's also an IaC, you should have a kind of a similar working methodology with Terraform. So I want to know in terms of does it have a way where we can, store this? I know in Terraform we call it if
State
we
file.
can state file, yes. So the state file, does it have a way we can maybe push, export it or store, retrieve it from a storage, sort of, so that any member of the team can, easily, and for security purposes, you can just pull it up from there instead of directly from this place. So I don't know if Bicep also have such concepts in place. Yeah.
Uh, well, it's a straightforward question. No, it's a straightforward answer. No, Bicep doesn't have a
Okay.
state file. Okay, but
Okay.
it the idea of state file is a standard reference of your deployment.
Okay.
Okay, or a store, a code store of your deployment, right? So Bicep takes its state directly from Azure Resource Manager. It doesn't have a state. It's its own state. Okay. So
Okay.
maybe I can share a link that really discuss the difference between Bicep and Terraform. But for the state file, it could be an advantage, or it's advantage of not having it. I mean, if you ever have to do what we call this same activity, like importing, like migrating from ARM templates to Terraform or from Portal to Terraform, which we'll cover still in this series, you will discover
Okay.
that for Terraform, because it has an import state and it has a state, you always need to import those files. or those configurations. But Bicep doesn't have a state, which means that you don't have to import anything. So you've reduced the steps. And in terms of having, I think there's one good feature of Terraform that we want to see in Bicep, and Bicep has that already. That's the preview version, or the preview feature, which is your Terraform plan,
Okay.
right? So the Terraform plan is your Bicep what if. So it might not be, I mean, as sophisticated as planned, but it does the job to help let you see the effect of your deployments before it really kicks in. Okay. Yeah. So I'll probably just share a link that tries to, since you're very interested in Bicep in relation to what Terraform brings, so I can share a link that kind of discuss the differences. So we'll continue back to the demo.
Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
So basically, just like Terraform, you can, we are trying to have module and things like that to make our deployment much more better. So I just moved the main Bicep to here, and I just called it storage account, really. Okay. So I don't think there's anything I want to change here. Okay, I'm happy what I have here. Okay. So the only thing that we'll be concerned about will be how do we deploy with this new structure. So basically, our template is expecting 4 parameters, which should be supplied to the module as well, right? So if we come here, I'll just say, since we have the same file basically, so let's just get rid of the resource part of it, and we'll be referencing with what we call module. Instead of a resource block, we use module block. Okay, then the symbolic name of the module, what do we want to call it? Okay, I could decide to call it a storage account. What can I make it different? Say resource. Okay, then we'll point to the modules, right? That should be in the same directory as the module, so that should be modules. Modules, then storage account biceps. Yeah, then the properties of the module. That is just like Terraform, if you're very familiar with Terraform. So, I mean, what are we expecting? We're expecting location. Expecting location, we're expecting container name. Hope it's not getting too boring. Container name.
Not at all.
Then tags. That's what is expected of this module. Although we have default value for this, we also have default value of this, so we can actually tell it this, if you know what I mean. Okay, and it still be fine. Then what's the last thing? Yeah, storage account name. This is one that we don't have defined as default. So yes, so we just copied this from the modules, right? So what I intend to do is to pass another parameter file that will provide inputs from a parameter file that we're going to reintroduce. So if we don't just rush this, we could just move this over here safely. You don't need it there, but yeah, let's just have a reference. Things could really get messy. So I'm going to rely on another location. We call it location param. Container name. I mean, just differentiate it a bit. Can basically still use the same name and just continue. Makes our life a little bit, I don't know if it makes our life easier or it makes it worse. So it doesn't confuse us. Let's just use a different name. Okay. So we are going to be introduce that into the Bicep file. These are decoration. They're fine because they helps you, know more about what you're deploying, but kind of don't like so much of it. We already have it in the module. So let's call this param. Yeah, it picks that param, which is what we already defined previously, just under param. This should. No, what am I doing? Why is this not picking? Oh, I missed the name. Okay. Oh, yes. So what this means is that our parameter file will now expect param. So this helps us to differentiate with what we have in the modules really. So it doesn't confuse us. This should point to the module. Should point. No, it should be fine. It should point to what we have here. Okay. Yeah, this has to be equals to. Why? What's wrong?
I think you have to add the properties.
Oh. Let's just check. Let's check modules. Param, that's it. You see it? I missed the parameter. Yeah, I missed it. So, usually don't have to be scared of having errors. I mean, not the best of stuff, but there's no need of running away from having errors. Because it gives you an opportunity to really understand your code. Go back to what we have here. So closes the parameter file. Yes.
I think the values inside should move one step forward. From location to storage account name.
No, this is fine. Actually flagging on here. It says the parameter does not exist. So I think it's from here. Chidi, I think it's from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's from here. So I just need to think it's okay. All right, this is okay. So I just need to call it a name. What should I call it? storage account. Yeah, so I think we are fine this way. We're fine this way. Okay, let's see what happens. So links hasn't given us any error. This shouldn't be here. Let me delete this. Yep. So we can now try our command again. So this should be main. Yeah, this is fine. Just fine. Yeah, let's see. Validate. Let's see what happens. Okay, that seems to have validated fine. Okay. So that's good sign. Good sign. So yeah, I don't know if what we've done is clear. I don't know if it's clear enough. I mean, we can move this now into here. Okay, I'll just rename this as a development, whatever. Just say dev is fine. Development.parameter. Delete this empty file. Not this in here. So this is better. I mean, we can have UAT, we can have other environment as well. Maybe we could change a few things, maybe their naming conversion. Ideally, you could want to make things a little bit different. Maybe the name should have something like dev in here, and the UAT should have like UAT, things like that. Kind of, many things you can do to improve codes, basically, right? So the many things we can do to improve our code. Many things we can do to improve our code. Okay. That's the reality of things. We can decide to add, say, a limit of allowable characters. You can decide to add, say, reduce the deployable, say, storage SKU. You can really do anything you want to do. All right, a lot of stuff you can do, but I mean, the basics is always the compile, test if it's fine. If it's fine, refactor again, test again. You keep checking basically. And since we've moved this parameter to here, we as well need to ensure that we are pointing to this file, right? And that should be, it's not in the same directory as, is it in the same directory as main? No. So that should be, it's inside of here, so it should be on this layer. Just give us one more dot and we are fine. Okay, so if you test again, sorry, we are doing a lot of testing, but I mean, that's the best way we can go about this so we don't miss anything. Oh, what did I miss? Ah, come on. Did you see that, guys? Bicep param dot bicep param.
Yes.
Okay, I just fixed that typo. And I guess we should be good.
Okay.
Okay. So I think we have successfully, I can say we've successfully moved this, structurally. So maybe it's time to do a what if and see the changes we have. Okay. Terraform lovers, you might like this one so much. So we're coming back to reviewing just like we have in plan, right? So this is our bicep what if, the preview feature. So that minus means delete. Now this segment, so that means modify, and equals to means no change, basically. So we want to see more of no change than any other stuff. Okay. So this is saying this might change. These values might be removed, basically. Okay. Similarly with what we have here, that's what it's actually saying here. But I mean, some of these things can be false at times because this is exact AMP templates we've used to define this. So it's not 100% true most times. But I mean, if you are saying this is going to be removed from me, I don't care about any of this because I'm using default value. So I'm fine, right? So, but there might be other modifications. So I actually passed in tags, right? But though I didn't provide any value for tag in our parameter file, as mean I did, there'll be more changes, right? That will be creation. You'll see is a new change to be a plus. So let's say we want to now add tags. Let's add tags, shall we? Even if it's one value.
Okay.
No, let's just keep it simple. Anyway, it's fine. At least we know that in our code we have added that. Then we can always add that here if we want to. So if we anonymously agree to add, then maybe we should add.
Yes, go ahead.
Params. There'll be tags param. So it's helping us with that IntelliSense feature of an extension we are using. That's the Bicep extension. I didn't talk about that, but I'm going to just briefly touch light on that. So we are basically trying to get this. So it knows that we've defined a parameter tags param. So this should remember we're talking about an object. So it's not a string. So need to bring out this the column and define the string. What would you like to see in a tag? Any suggestion?
Let it be demo.
I mean, what kind of tags? Let's say natural. Okay.
Or maybe the environment or whatsoever.
Environment. Yeah. I think environment is a very good one here. Environment. Which other one? No, this is development. Oh, demo labs. Oh, is there anything like that? Let's say development. Just let's stick to what's standard. Say team, right?
Yeah.
Support community, Azure support community. Okay, I guess these ones are fine. We can add more, but I mean, it's just for some demo to see the effect it will have on it. What if? This might also be because of we changed the API version, remember? From
Okay.
what
Yeah, we
version to
can.
what version? Change from a very old, not so much old version, but an old version to this version. So
Because we are supposed
yeah,
to have a plus in here, right? An
not
addition.
particularly. I'm just looking at the properties that changed that really didn't change. Like although there's a non-stop that Bicep preview could have some noise basically. So there's really no real change here, but it's flagging as a change, a slight change. So that could be because of the APIs, but it shouldn't be so. Okay. But yeah, at least we know. I can see here that I don't have any concern with this. So I'm 100% sure about this. I can move on. So
Yeah.
basically, so
So I
now,
think what is actually.
yeah, go ahead, please. Yeah, learning from
Sorry.
ourselves.
So
Go ahead, please.
I think what is, yeah, I feel that what is actually flagging as some, properties like it made mention of there, the public access and web. But considering that from what we are deploying now, we do not need those in terms of the security parameters. I feel that has to do with creating containers, especially. So I feel it's something that can be ignored actually. Yeah.
Yeah, same feeling with myself. At least, but you know that there's an outcome of a change. You have an idea, you can say no, ignore it. But I also believe that it could be because maybe the way the API is implementing for 2001 and 2003 might not be absolutely the same thing. Okay, so
Yeah.
there's some factors in there to consider. But all the same, I don't care about these properties because it doesn't really affect my operations. And if that's so,
Yeah.
you can ignore it. But there's also, I think there's a tracking for Bicep what if noise. It's called noise. Yeah, there's something like that. Is like a forum, Azure Bicep forum that kind of handles that. If I know I've seen something like this before, okay, you can always go there and and try to support and basically add your own new discovery about any noise that you think we have, then they can look at it. Okay, so yeah, we see clearly that we are adding tags. And oh yes, I know it's a change, but I want that change because our previous AMP template didn't have that, and because of that I don't know what team is using this resource. I don't know the owner. I don't know what environment. I can't even have a good cost analysis of this resource. So I need more accountability. So it's fine to have that improvement. So yeah, let's now try to deploy. That'll be create command. Hopefully we don't see red. So that's really the end of a demo. So I'll just want to move this into folder so we know this is what we started with. Okay. So that's it, guys. Any question? Or not stop sharing? Any question? Anything we feel that's not so clear?
I think it's quite explainable and quite understandable for me. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone has a contrary opinion? Any contribution? We have a quiet house. Does that mean
Okay.
we all understand
Yes.
everything that
Yeah.
was done?
Yeah, it was quite a laboratory, and I believe the question maybe Emmanuel would have asked. He asked that in between the demo section.
Yeah.
So I think we're good. So,
Mano,
but
is that
Yes, exactly. It's quite okay. So I feel what I would do more is just to read up and also do some few deployments personally on my end. At least that will give me a solid understanding of this. But it was quite an interesting section for me because I've actually been running away from Bicep, and I guess yeah, I just need to do more and. It was because actually why I ran away was the first time I tried doing something on it, the whole concept was seen looks more complex to me, right? It was very complex. So I just had to dish it away. But I feel I just have to pick it up again and yes, do some few deployments, see how it's going to be. But it's quite an interesting one actually. Yeah.
thank you for that, Emmanuel. I mean, everybody that first start with Terraform feels the way you do. Okay. You're not in an unfamiliar place. I mean, probably even Chidi has the same, it's the same thoughts as well. So it's,
Yeah,
for all of
it's a
myself
normal
too.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah, same stuff.
Yeah.
So you're not alone in this. Josiah, do you have any question? Any in addition, any observation? Wait, is
No,
here with us.
no, it was a good presentation.
Michael, any observation for us?
I think he's talking, but we can't hear him.
Yeah,
None,
yeah.
none.
Okay.
Okay, so that's really it. We also we have online communities in LinkedIn. You can do well to join us and ask your question. We also have WhatsApp channel, which I believe everybody should be part of that channel group already. So we can all collaborate, ask questions regarding IaC, and I mean Chidi, myself, and other guys in the group, Promise as well, can really help to tackle the question. We have a lot of good guys in that group that could as well help out. Okay, I mean, I think we can call it a day now. Chidi, do you have any last words for us?
Okay, that was an awesome presentation by you, Nacho. And thank you to Emmanuel, Joshua, and Michael. We appreciate your time. So do well to join the group, as my colleague said, so that if you have any quick question while trying your hands on what you have done so far, you can quickly drop it on the group, and we do our best to respond to you as soon as possible. See you in our next event. Thank you.
Thank you all so
Bye.
much. Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye
Bye.
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 Thank
Bye.
you very much.